I'm Ella for BoardGameGeek, and I'm here with Zev from WizKids, and we're going to be master builders, aren't we, Zev, today? Talking
Indeed,
about
we are.
Meeple Towers.
Hello.
Yeah. Yes, so what do we do in Meeple Towers? It looks so cute.
I, in Meeple Towers, you are building, or we are building a central tower. We are playing cards that allows us to place supports and tile pieces and meeples. So those are the three main components of the game. And you're trying to get, of course, the most points by the end of the game.
Right.
You'll see the starting board. There are actually multiple starting bases you can use.
Mm-hmm.
This is one example here, but everyone's going to have an identical hand of 7 cards. And the cards, when you play a card, you can either use the top half of the card or the bottom half of the card. And it tells you what to do. So that card, for example, tells you you can place either 2 supports or you can place a meeple on top of a tile with that symbol. I think that's the housing symbol or the residential. The other one, the one next to it, is you could place 2 meeples, one each in a housing district, or you could place 1 meeple in any tile space that contains the coffee symbol. It's like
It's
the
a coffee shop.
district.
Oh, work district. I was thinking coffee shops.
Yeah. And then, of course, like the last card at the bottom, that shows you the tile pieces. So you would be able to choose one of those tile shapes, either a single square or a double square, and be able to place it onto the board in order to raise the level of the tower. Now, it has to be a legal placement. You'll see the tiles, they'll show you symbols of supports on the tiles. So that's the minimum number of supports you need and the place where you need supports. So for example, there it shows you need at least a support under the left and a support under the right. It's okay if you have one in the middle, but you have to have one on the left and on the right for that tile. And then when you place the tile, you score. You score the larger number in the square, and then anyone with a support underneath the tile will get 3 points. So actually other players can share in the placement of a tile because they'll have support under that tile. The other ways to score is when you place a tile, if you cover a meeple, that meeple will score based on the district it's in. You see the little sort of thought balloonish type things on the top of the screen, the blue, purple, and orange. So it'll match the district in which your meeples will score. There's points underneath them. They're secret. When you score a meeple, you remove the meeple from the board, and then you would take one of those, keep it secret, but of course you can look at it. And that will add to your score at the end of the game. And that's also a way of getting meeples back. So when you place meeples on the board, you are placing them in the hopes that they will get covered at some point so that you can score extra points, plus be able to reuse the meeple because you have a limited number of meeples that can be used. The supports can be played, they're nice, big, and thick, so it's not a dexterity game at all. The big supports really keep the tiles in place. It's very hard to knock everything over unless you're really trying. Even you can reach in and grab a meeple that's covered by a lot of tiles and supports. So you can place supports anywhere on the board. With the meeples, the only restrictions for them would be you can't place them on the black and orange striped spaces. Those are reserved for supports only. Somebody asked this at one point, but no, you can't place meeples on top of supports and supports on top of meeples. That doesn't happen. Again, it's not a dexterity game. You're not trying to balance things here. So you could put supports on the board, and you can also place on top of an existing support. So supports can go up to 2 level high before they must be covered by a tile. So you can't put a support 3 levels high, for example. So yes, by placing a black one there, and let's say even another color, when a tile gets placed, the person who placed the tile will get the score in the square box that I told you, and then each color support will get the other. So red will get ×2, okay, single there. So black will score, and red would score in that case, the smaller number, because black and red have a support under that tile. Excellent. Good maneuvering there. There's a scoreboard to the right there, so you keep track of the score. Yes, you have 7 cards. Again, everyone's identical. And there is a card that allows you to bring all the cards back into your hand so you can keep playing.
Right.
And that's very the gist of the game. So you're trying to build up. score your
Yes.
meeples, score your to get the special bonuses, get points for tiles, whether by placing them and or by placing supports. And then at the end of the game, any unscored meeples will be valued at how high they are from the floor. So on the base, they're 1 point, one level up, they're 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, 5 points, and so on.
Right. So you really want it to be high. How high in games that you played? How high does it go, like in terms of scoring?
I've seen at least level 5. I'm trying to think if there was a level 6. I don't recall, but I've seen it get to 4 consistently, and I have seen it at 5. And then at that time, sometimes the strategy changes because you say, well, I don't think I'm going to get my meeple covered, but if I can get a meeple up on a tile that high, it's worth 5 points, which is a pretty good score for a meeple. And if you look at the various tiles, they have different colored districts on them. So sometimes when you place a particular tile on something, like here, you may not have the right card ready to place on that tile, but it does make the space available for you or an opponent to place a meeple on those color tiles.
Yeah, so you have to adjust all the time. Yeah, maybe we can do.
You just have to know exactly. Yeah, the other side, by the way, since you flipped it, the other side is for the advanced game. That's where the scores for the tiles are not as uniform as they are in the base game. So they're wildly different in terms of how much the tile itself is worth and how much the supports are worth. So you could play a nice, not only with different bases, because you can mix and match different bases, you can now also play with advanced tiles. So it gives you a little more advanced, a lot of more replayability value to the game.
Right. And you were saying this is not a dexterity game. What happens if it falls down? You just put it back up?
To the best of your ability, I'll say I've played every game I've played, and I played a dozen or so. I've never knocked it down. So it shouldn't, again, because everything is pretty uniform and straight. You can't place tiles at an angle. So, for example, if there's 2 supports on one and 1 support on another, you can't put a tile there because it'll be at an angle. So that's not allowed because it makes it unstable.
Yes.
So everything is pretty even. The supports, as you can see, are very thick. So again, unless you're really not paying attention to something and you just like move your hand in and knock it, I've not seen it happen in any of my games. Not saying that it can't, but it's difficult too.
Yes, just follow the rules and it won't fall down. I was actually looking forward to because I watched the video actually a little bit, and I was excited to get a feel of it and play it a little bit. Would you like to play around with me, please?
Sure.
Awesome. So what are we supposed to do first? What do you want me to do? So we're going to have a hand of cards. Then we're going to pick
one color set of cards.
And if I was a beginner, what would you recommend I play? Should I put meeples out first?
I don't think there's any
no one
move. It also depends are you first, are you second, are you third? Because let's say that you're a starting player plays support, you may want to play a meeple in between those supports in the hopes that somebody will cover it. But if you're first, do you place a meeple in the hopes that somebody will play support around you, or you can? Or do you play supports and maybe somebody will join you by placing a meeple there, and then you're working together to build it up. So at least, again, somebody will score for the meeple, you'll score for supports, and then you'll score for tiles. So it actually it is nice when like 2 or more people work together in order to get scores for everybody involved. You might see people just work on a section themselves, like they'll place the supports, they'll place a meeple, then they'll place a tile and get all the points. But you don't want to do that. You want to try to get in on that and at least get some partial points. It's almost like getting like first place points and second place points. So you want to be able to get in on one of those values. So you have to just read the board, see where you think it's going to score, who's going to score it, and how can you get involved, whether a support, a meeple, or by playing the tile yourself.
Right. So grab as many opportunities as you can when you see it.
Absolutely.
Basically.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, you want to be involved. You want to be in everybody's area if possible.
Yes. I don't if I look at the cards, maybe I want to play Meeple, Nikki. Are there cards that put out a Meeple or Meeples? Yes. Okay, so we're gonna
Yeah.
try.
So
Yeah,
let's
I'll
say
try.
I can't see the board, but let's say you played the first one. So the first card
Yes.
allows you, if you wanted to use the top, would allow you to place one support and one meeple in a home area. I don't know if there's a home area on those boards there because I can't tell the color. So yep, so you'd be able to place a meeple in any of the purple spots, and you can place one support anywhere. So if you played that
Anywhere.
card, you would do that. You would not use the bottom half of that card. Obviously, you couldn't because
Mm,
there's no place to place a single or double tile.
right.
But yep, you can absolutely do that. So you're setting yourself up for possibly you putting a tile, like a support
Mm,
one somewhere, and then a tile, or somebody can help you do that. So another
right.
player would now play a card, for example, and let's say let them play, let's say two supports, for example.
Okay. So
Play it to two support tile. There you go. So place one support to the left of the meeple, and then one support anywhere you wish. Maybe two spaces north of the one you just placed.
right.
Up, yeah.
So my question
Well,
is, can I
one more
put
down. Sorry.
a warmer down? Okay.
Yep.
Oh, because I
Yep.
could put on the yellow. Can I put on top? I can't yet, right? It has to be equal. Or
No.
can I
So
put
the
on
only
top?
thing you can't do is I did say you can make supports too high, but you can't make it too high on the same turn. So if you place that,
Right.
so if you played that two support card, you couldn't put both in the same spot on that turn. But later,
Right.
anybody can build on top of that red support or play supports on the black support. So that's fine. But now if you look at the
Right.
board, so let's say the third player goes. So they have a chance. They could play a 3-square tile, and in two ways, they
Mm,
could play it covering the black and red, which means, but that means, so let's say white does that, for example. So white plays,
yes.
uses the bottom half of the card, plays a 3-square tile. So you would take one from the top of the stack, place it over the black and red thing. And again, they may not want to do it because all the points, but so let's say they do that. Now white would get the point on the square, on the big
Mm-hmm.
square of the thing. I think it's 6. I can't tell from here.
6. Yes.
Uh,
6
the
and a
red
3.
player would score for that meeple, would get a purple token because the meeple is on a purple square. So it would get
Mm,
one of those secret purple tokens. Yep. So that would be
right.
secret till the end of the game. And then black and red would each get the smaller number of that tile because they have supports under that tile. So that's just so look who made out very well there. So actually, white made out very well. And red may have made out as well, depending on the number that the meeple got, and only red would know this. But so for the player who played white, said, "Oh, you know what? That was worth it because I got 6 points there." Yeah, so 2. So even there, you could see, and there is a range. I think like one set goes from 1 to 3, then it's like 2 to 4, then 3 to 5. So there's
Mm,
one set that's very hard to reach. So I think purple is easiest, orange medium, and I think blue are the higher stuff, the higher point stuff. That's why you don't see them as common in the beginning. So yeah,
right.
that was just an example of everybody getting involved. The
Mm,
red set it up. Black said, you know what, maybe, because here's the thing: if nobody covered that, black could have said, oh, you know what, I'll cover mine. I have 2 supports, going in the middle there. I could have placed my tile there, and then I would have scored for that tile and for 2 supports. So black was in
right.
a very good position in that case. But here, everybody benefited, and maybe that's why white did that. So it says, oh, you know what? I want to be able to score because I don't want red to
Put
put it
another
over the
one.
black, where then I won't get a
Right.
score, or to have black put it and only black scores. So in this way,
Right.
white was able to spread the point value around and actually make out a little better on that turn.
Yes. And how many players is this? It's 2 to 4, I
2 to
would
4
think. Yes.
players.
Yeah.
2 to
Would a
4
two-player
players.
game be very different from a 4-player one?
Yeah, it would be. I'd be probably less. You might have more chances to, when you plan something, that it might happen with another player. You don't know if they'll take the space that you want, but that's going to happen a
Right.
lot. I mean, there's going to be where you set it up, and again, that's why you want to be involved with everything, so that you have,
Mm,
so that if anybody places something, you would be able to benefit in some way.
right. kind of forces their hand also if you like get into what they're doing.
Absolutely. But also, you get
Yeah.
to see what players play, so you know
Mm,
what cards they don't have as well. So you can look at their
right.
discard pile and say, you know what? They don't have a card that gives you 3 tiles. So if I set this up, there's a good chance it'll come around to me, and then I'll use my 3 square, tile. So
Right.
reading, knowing what's been played will also help in part of your strategy.
Right. And
And
what's like
by
a
the way, just
high
for
scoring game?
full, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, we can continue. So what would
Oh,
be a
I was just going
good
to say
next move
for
for this?
full to complete it, people might see that blue hammer. That's just the starting player marker. That little blue hammer that's on
Ah,
the right
okay.
side
Okay.
there. So,
Cool. And the aim is to collect all of those little bubbles as much as possible in a way.
well, that's just points. You want to get points. That's just one way to
Yeah.
get points. You get
Right.
points by when tiles are played. If your meeples are covered,
Mm-hmm.
because then you'll get the bubbles. And then at the end of the game, based on how high along the tower they are. So the only end game scoring will be the bubbles you add to the end scoring and the
Yes.
how high the meeples are on the tower add to the scoring. Everything else is scored in game, and that's the tile laying stuff when you score for your supports and for the actual tile itself.
Right. And the advanced game, it just varies sort of the what the tiles are on the board, or
Yeah,
how does it
they're
make it
less
more complex?
uniform because I think like
Yeah.
all the 1 squares are worth 1 value, all the 2 squares one a value, 3, 4, and so on. But when you flip them off, I think they start changing the value. So it's just to make them a little different
So
throughout,
the
and
bigger
also the
board.
colors are different. So you'll see different rooms are will be more or less available as well.
Right. So we're talking
So it's
about the
just a way
big boards,
to
right?
change the play value.
Right. Now, if we have this state of the board, what would you put on it? And what would be a nice next move then? More meeples, right?
You could put, well, I mean, if you want to raise the tower, you could place more supports above that level 1 tile. So you place supports to try to get to level 2 or higher, or obviously or not obviously, but I mean, or you can work another part of the board because you have so much open area. So it depends on what each player wants to do. The setup, you already have a black support that doesn't have a tile on it. So whoever goes next will probably want to possibly play off of that, meaning using that to help set up a construction of a tile play by themselves or somebody else. Or again,
Right.
you could just try to work up the level of the tower. But it is early. It's going to get higher no matter what. So it
Mm.
really depends on that. But I would think you probably want to work off the black support there.
Oh, okay. Okay. And where
Yeah, so
would we?
that lets you
Yeah.
play a support and a meeple in a coffee district.
Okay.
In a
So
not in
there.
a work district. I think it's
Right.
or maybe entertainment. I think it's like residential, entertainment, and business are the 3 districts.
Right. Like
So yeah,
The
so you see, you
Sims.
can do all that stuff again, setting
Yes.
up. Again, the
Yes.
important thing to note is meeples can't go in the black and yellow squares. That's where they're forbidden. And then the other thing is to note that each tile tells you where there must be a support under it, but there could be more supports under it. It just has to have, right, there has to be a support, and there is. So meaning even if there was a support in the middle, that's great. But if there was only a support on the right and in the middle, you would not have been able to play that 3 square tile because there was no support under the left side. So again, that's just
Right.
telling you where there must be supports at least. Any extra are fine. They don't penalize you, and you will score for them if they happen to add. So like if there was another a support in the middle, that person would have gotten the score based on the support value of that tile.
Right. Right.
And you'll
And
see
is
the
there
different
any
shapes.
chance
You
for
have
us
like a
to
full
cover the?
square. You have the
Right.
3. So on, go on, yeah.
I'm sorry. Sorry about it. No, I was just going to ask: is there any chance that the yellow and black lines will be covered ever? Like, are there tiles that cover that? Like
Well, yeah.
ability
If
to
you put a
change the
support over there, then there's a good chance you will have a tile
right.
that will go on that support. So yeah, they'll be covered. But if you'll notice, some new tiles also bring more black and yellow tiles into play. So yeah, like that one there, you see that there's a black and yellow
Coverage.
tile there. So that just, again, it just limits where you can place a meeple.
Right. Cool. So just to wrap up, where can we find Meeple Towers?
Well, Meeple Towers should be available in your favorite local store, or if there's trouble getting it because of the situation in the world, you can get it on our website, shop.whizkids.com.
And I heard you're going to be back tomorrow talking about 4K, which is, I heard, an awesome game, amazing game. I've heard rave reviews.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, I had to check because it was added later. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're very excited about the roll and write pinball theme game. Yes, and we're hoping others are as well.
Oh, pretty excited! I heard the buzz on Twitter. The bees on Twitter. Yes. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Zev, for explaining Meeple Towers to us. So I'm Ella and Zev, and see you tomorrow, I guess.
Take care. Thank you very much.
Take care.